Hello guys, welcome to yet another screencast. In this screencast, we will talk about CSS variables. So if you know even a little bit of programming, you know the importance of variables, right? They act like a container of some values that you can reuse over and over again in your application. The concept is same with CSS variables. Okay, so to get started, I have a barebone index.html with the header, main section, and footer. Footer is a 4 column layout. Main is a 3 column layout. And in header, I have a navigation area and a toggle, right? And we will see what this toggle does in little while. And this is our style.css. It's a pretty basic CSS, nothing so extraordinary about the CSS. And our script.js, it's empty. There is nothing inside script.js. Now, let's try and open this index.html with live server. Uh, Open with live server, and yep, here we go. So this is the application. Uh, this is the toggle, right? Now, at this moment, this toggle is doing nothing, but we will cover how we can use JavaScript and can manipulate CSS variables on the fly. But for the time being, this toggle is doing nothing, and this is our application. So what we do, let's rearrange our screen so that the browser and code editor are sitting next to each other. Uh, okay, and let's try and rewrite our CSS with the help of variables. Now, just like programming variables, we have scoping, right? Same with the CSS variables, we have scope, right? So we need now a CSS variable defined in a scope can be reused or reused in the child descendants. So, for example, the base component, the global scope for the CSS variable is root. Root is nothing but just the HTML. So we define a CSS variable in a scope. In our case, we are defining a CSS variable inside root, right? And the convention that we use to define a CSS variable is double hyphen and the name of the variable that you want to use. For example, let's say white or maybe like light, and so it becomes FFF for white color. Okay, so we have defined our first variable, and to use this variable, what we can do, we can just use var keyword. We can use to use this variable. All we need is a var keyword with parentheses, and within the parentheses we have uh, the variable, right? So in this case we want to use the light variable, so it's light. And as you can see, there is no change in our application. The application is not broken. And what we can do now, we can get rid of all these FFF with the variables, right? So let's go ahead and replace all uh, FFF hexadecimal code with the variable there again, and yep, there also, and yep, I think it's done now. And footer also we have uh, FFF color. Okay, and I see that we are using a black color at many places. So we can define a variable for the black color, let's call it dark. Yep, auto completion is good. So dark is for 000, and similarly, uh, like this white or the light variable, uh, we can replace our black with dark variable, again using var with parentheses, and inside the parentheses the name of the variable, right? So var dark, I can go ahead and replace all black hexadecimal code with uh, sorry, not light but dark. Okay, so tar copy. Let's see where else we are using the dark um, color. There we go. Heading also black, and I think it looks good now. Yep, everything is looking good. Okay, so you see how we can use CSS variables. We define scope, and inside that scope we have variables, right? And all the descendants uh, of this scope can use these variables, right? Let's write a couple more. Okay, so we have a font size of 16 pixel. Let's convert this thing also um, into a variable. So let's call it font size. Let's call 16 pixel. Yep, fine. And for body font size or font size is okay. Um, let's see where else we are using font size. Font size. No, that's fine. That's fine. Thing looks good. Oh yes. So the anchor tag is also using 16 pixel. Let's use uh, var for font size. Let's scroll down further, and yes, right there in the footer we are using a font size of 14 pixel. Now we can get rid of this 14 pixel value with our variable. So it's called var font size. But the font size was 16, right? And you can see the font size is increased, but we want the font size to be 14 pixel. Now what we can do over here, we can override the CSS variable in this footer context, footer scope. So it's font size, font size, and let's redefine it 14 pixel. Okay, okay, so you see it's back to 14 pixels. So this is how you can override a CSS variable. If you redefine a CSS variable in some local scope, so all the descendants of that local scope will use this redefined value. Okay, so this is how scoping works with a CSS variable. CSS variable defined in a local scope will take precedence over variables defined in global scope, right? Okay, let's scroll down further and see. Yep, in copyright also we are using 12 pixel. So if I replace this thing, replace this value with the variable var font size. Now this will become 14 pixel, right? Because this copyright is a child of footer, and in footer we redefined our variable to be 14 pixel, and this copyright is a descendant of footer, so it's inheriting 14 pixel over here. Now if we want to override this 14 pixel, we can again redefine this variable for this copyright scope, and can be like this. Font size 12 pixel. Yep, it's back to 12 pixel. Okay, so let's convert few more of these values in some variables. For example, I think I'm using this box shadow uh, quite a lot, I guess. Yep. Yes. So what I can do, 10 pixels. Okay. Uh, yes. So let's use let's cut this variable, cut this value. Okay, so I'm trying to be as symmetric as possible. For box shadow, I'm using box shadow variable name, but you can use anything you want, right? So, yep, that looks good. So, we can go with there and replace a box shadow value with the variable, and that variable is box shadow, right? So, the shadow is back. Okay, we have a shadow for the header. Yeah, so the box shadow for the header is back, and I think we have a box shadow for card. Where is card? Yep, there we go. Okay, it's using a different pattern, but let's use uh, our variable. So box shadow. Okay, that's fine. Mm. Or in fact, what we can do, we can. Yep, I think that's just fine. Let's continue with this thing. Okay, I think. Yep, I think it's done. Next thing, what you can do, we can define the background color for footer over here, and let's call it footer dash bg, and 333 is all we want. So let me copy this footer dot bg, and let's replace the color, the background color, with our variable. Yeah, the footer bg. Okay, and color light is okay. That looks okay. Hmm. Now, what else we can do? Uh, uh, yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything, I guess. Yeah, we can also do this one. So the cards have a background color of FFF. We can take this. Let's call this gray color, right? So it's GREY, I guess. Yep. Okay. So we have gray. Oops, sorry. So let's use our gray variable for card background color. Auto completion is doing a fantastic job. Yeah, why not change the container width to be variable. Let's call this thing container width 100, 1100 pixels. Okay, so where is the container? Yep, there we go. And we can replace 1100 pixels with our variable container width. Okay, now as a last exercise, let's rewrite grid with CSS variables. Okay, because for grid, okay, let's head over to our index.html and just have a look at this structure. So wherever I'm using a grid or columns layout, so I'm wrapping those columns with a div with a class called grid, and if it is a 3-column layout, it's called grid called 3, and if it is a 4-column layout, it's called grid called 4. So we can define our uh, grid variables for this scope only, right? We don't need to define our variables for the global scope. So let's head over to our CSS, and let me just do a small rewrite. Let me just put some comments. Yeah, this is a section for variables, and there I want to use my grid. So it's called grid. Okay, and in this my scope is grid, and what I can do, I can say columns, 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 and columns are columns 4 in fact. So yeah, repeat 4 5, that's fine. And for 3 I want columns 3. Okay, so within this scope grid I can use these CSS variables, and if I go to yeah, there, I can replace this thing with our variable called var columns 3. Okay, and for 4 column we can replace it with var columns 4 CSS variable. Okay, now if we want, now this page is not responsive as of now. So if I drag it, or if I try to squeeze the page, see, this is not responsive. Okay, so what we can do, we can rewrite our variables uh, inside media queries, but again I want yep, max width for 768. I want to rewrite our variables but for scope grid. Okay, so what I can do, let's hit tab. I want 2 column, I just want 1 column thing. So this one also 1 column. Okay, now you can see, uh, let's maximize this browser. Okay, and let's inspect with the developer console, and if I switch to mobile view, you can see it's responsive. The credit is responsive, and we are using our CSS variables, right? Uh, and this whole application is being rewritten with CSS variables. Okay. Other benefit of using CSS variables are you can interact or you can change CSS variables on the fly, and you can make your application truly interactive in no time. So let's try and work on this toggler. Okay. Um, Again, let's resize our browser window and head over to our script.js. This script.js is empty as of now, but let's start. And let me just open up my developer console, uh, dock it at the bottom. Yeah, we want the desktop view. Fine, console. Right. So we can say const also because we are not going to change the value. Const root. Let's say document ucment dot query selector, and not pound root but uh, colon root, right? And let's do a console dot log. Okay, for the root. Okay, let's see what the root is. You see, the root is the HTML, right? Okay, so let's remove this console log statement and grab the input checkbox, and let's call it toggle theme. and we can say document dot query selector, and this is our label, and within that label we have the input. Okay, so we have this input. Let's add an event listener to listen for change event for this input box. Toggle theme dot add event listener. I don't want to use arrow function. I'll use a callback function, and this is the body of our function. And let's close. Yep. So inside the function, we can check for if this thing is checked, right? If this is checked, okay, this we will do this stuff, else we will do this stuff. So uh, we have root, right? Root dot style dot set property. Now what property we want to set? The variable that is defined in this root scope, and that variable is the light variable, and we want to change that to be black 000. Oops, pound sign. Okay, right, and if we check this input box, the light will becomes 000, else the light will be white. Okay, so let's do a quick test. Toggle this switch. Yep, it's looking good. Yes, you can see we can change, or we can switch to a black theme on the toggle of this switch. It's not 100% correct, but we are getting there, right? Let's change a few more property that are defined in this root selector. Um, root dot what I can do, in fact, I can just copy and paste this guy, right? So Control C, Control V. Instead of light, we want dark to be inverted into FFF, and this again we can copy and paste. It should go back to the dark color, right? So let's do one more test. Oh yeah, things are looking a lot better now, right? So let's get rid of this developer console. And what about our footer? Okay, the footer is still not correct, but let's change the footer color also. So we have root dot style dot set property, and if I remember correctly, it's footer dash bg. Okay, let's make it dark, and once we go back, we want it to be back to its original colors 333. Okay, let's do a quick test. Oh yeah, the footer is all black, but we need to change the color of the text also. So we have just we have footer text color, I guess. uh, it's called, oh, we don't have any variable for the footer color. Okay, let's see if we are using color. Yep, the color is light. Color is light. Okay, and Okay, I think we should not use the light color because on toggle the color becomes dark. So let's define a new variable over here. It's called footer text color. Okay, and since this variable doesn't exist, let's define it real quick. So footer text is FFF. That's fine. Oops. And yeah, we don't want to do anything with the footer color, so leave it like this. And let's toggle this color. Yep, it looks good. Okay. Uh, I think we can make a few more improvement. The box shadow color for the header. We can also change the box shadow color for the header. So let's call it root dot style dot set property, and it was the box shadow. And let's define this box shadow um, to be white, I guess. 255 255 255 255. Yep, that's okay. Box shadow. The color is 255 2555, right? Okay, but the value was 0010. Okay, so let's say 0010 RGBA, and let's use this white. The oops. This apostrophe will go after the parentheses, and we need to wrap this thing with another parentheses, right? Okay, and if I check this guy, I can see there is some box shadow over here, but let's just make it maybe 3. Yeah, that looks good. But when we switch it back, we need to reset the box shadow to be our black color. 0 0 0 0.1, I guess. Yep, let's just do a quick check. Yep, 0.1. Okay, so there we go. We have an application where we can toggle the theme color to be dark, and I think we should have some separation for the border also, right? Okay, let's do one thing. So border, what we can do, we can have a border top, and let's make it light white color. So not 333, maybe I guess is too light. So let's say 888. Yep, that looks okay. Okay, so border top 1 pix solid 888, and we won't change this color because on white it looks great, but we needed some separation for the dark theme. So if we toggle it to dark, okay, yep, it's good. Yeah, I think this is okay. We can leave it like this. Okay, so let's do a recap. CSS variables are defined in a scope, and all the descendants of the scope can use these CSS variables. Want to override these CSS variable in a local scope, redefine them, right? Redefine those CSS variables within that local scope. Uh, and another thing is you can interact with those CSS variables with your JavaScript, okay, and can make your application truly interactive. So that's all, guys, in this screencast. I will be uploading the source code to GitHub repo, and I will leave the link in the description of the video. If you want to download and play around with this code, you can. Uh, and I will be bringing more such videos in near future. Okay, thanks for watching and stay healthy. Bye, take care.